You know that day? You know the one I'm talking about? The day when you wake up and it feels like the sky crashed down on you overnight. The house is full of movement, noise, life. But your heart is empty, hollow. You whisper a prayer while brewing the coffee, but God's silence seems deafening, louder than any thunder you've ever heard. And then that question starts whispering in your mind. Is he still in control? Can I ask you something difficult? What if I told you that even chaos has a limit? That no storm, no matter how violent, moves an inch without first hearing the voice of the one who reigns over it? Because look, maybe the biggest lie the enemy wants to plant in your heart today is this, that your pain is proof that God is absent. When in reality, friend, your pain might be exactly the stage where he's about to show who really is. The sea that scares you today obeys the same voice that created it. And that voice? It still speaks, still commands, still calms. So today I want to ask you a question that could change everything. Are you ready to believe that the same wind that frightens you might be the wind that carries you back into the arms of the King? Stay with me until the end, because what we're going to discover together today could transform not just your day, but your entire journey. And if this conversation touches your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with that friend who also needs to hear that there's hope in the middle of chaos. And subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey together. You know, there's something deeply freeing about understanding what it really means when we say, "The Lord reigns." It's not just a pretty phrase, embroidered on a pillow or written in cursive on a farmhouse sign in the living room. It's a living truth that crosses generations and whispers to your weary heart. Hey, you don't have to control everything. Think with me. How many things are you trying to hold right now? The home that never stops demanding attention. The kids with their endless needs. The job that pressures you. That relationship that's shaky. The bills. The fear of not being enough. The terror of failing as a mom, as a wife, as a woman. You're carrying the weight of 1,000 worlds on your shoulders. And you know what the truth is? You were never called to do that. Let me tell you something. There's a deep, almost inexplicable peace that comes when you finally understand that the King governs even over what seems completely out of order. Nothing escapes his gaze. Nothing. Not that hidden cry in the bathroom at 3 in the morning. Not the heavy silence that suffocates you at the end of the day when everyone's asleep, and you're still there, trying to process everything alone. Now imagine this scene with me. It's 5:30 in the morning. The house is still dark and silent. You're in the kitchen, brewing coffee before the sun rises. The clock doesn't stop. You know that in half an hour, the chaos begins. The kids will wake up, the rush will start, and your heart, it's already racing, anticipating everything that's coming. But in this moment, before everything begins, you can do something small but extraordinarily powerful. You whisper, almost soundlessly, "The Lord reigns." 3 words. Seems almost insignificant, doesn't it? But it's like turning on a light in a completely dark room. It's remembering, even before the day starts, that God is already in control of what you still fear facing. This simple awareness transforms the ordinary into spiritual, the chaotic into sacred. Do you understand what happens when your heart truly absorbs this truth? It becomes firm, even when everything around you is being shaken. Because knowing that God reigns isn't an abstract theological theory. It's a real refuge for your weary soul. It's where you find strength when you have none left. It's where faith is born in the middle of absolute chaos. It's where you find courage to take one more step when every cell in your body is screaming for you to give up. It's there, in that moment of conscious surrender, that your devotion gains real life. In the middle of the messy routine, the noise, the endless uncertainties, it's precisely when you rest in this sovereign love that something begins to happen. You begin to see, slowly, as if a fog is lifting. You begin to see that there's an invisible hand, controlling even the most unpredictable storms of your life. But let's be honest, there are days when this truth seems too far away, aren't there? Days when life doesn't just seem busy, but completely out of control. Days when you feel like you're in the middle of a raging sea, and the waves of worry crash relentlessly, one after another after another. Have you been there? In that place where you feel the boat of your life rocking so hard that you're sure it's going to capsize. In those moments, it's so easy to think that God is distant, that he's not watching, That maybe he simply forgot about you. But can I tell you something that will change your perspective? He's there, right there, controlling every wave, every wind, every breath that goes in and out of your lungs. No storm is too strong for the hand that sustains the entire universe. And that same hand, friend, that same powerful hand that keeps the stars in their places. It holds the heart of a mom who prays silently at 2 p.m. while folding laundry, asking only for strength to survive one more day. Faith in the middle of chaos is born exactly in that moment. When you discover, not in theory but in real experience, that the helm of your life has never, not for 1 second, left the Lord's hands. You know what's fascinating? God uses storms to reveal who really is. When everything is calm and predictable, faith seems simple, almost automatic. But it's in the roar of thunder, in the paralyzing fear of loss, in the pain that squeezes your chest until you can't breathe right, that your heart learns what it means to truly trust. The storm isn't punishment. Let me repeat that because this is important. The storm isn't punishment. It's an invitation. An invitation to see God's power manifest exactly where your human control has completely run out. And sometimes, many times actually, it's in the middle of the most mundane routine that he speaks loudest, between the noise of the instant pot on the stove and the cry of the child who fell and scraped their knee, in the traffic jam when you're late again, in the endless pile of dirty laundry. It's there that he whispers, "Daughter, I still reign, and still here. I still control what you think you're losing." This is the true whisper of heaven. It's not a dramatic thunder that splits the sky in two. It's a gentle voice that penetrates the chaos and reaches your heart exactly where it's most broken. So let me give you something practical that could change everything. Instead of trying to calm the sea, learn to rest in the boat. Do you understand the difference? One is exhausting and impossible. The other is surrender and peace. When the day is turbulent, and you know those days come, choose a moment to literally stop, even if it's just 2 minutes. Take a deep breath and pray, "Lord, reign over my home, over my heart, over my day." Read a verse, just one, something that feeds your soul. Sometimes, just 60 seconds of intentional quietness is enough to feel that spiritual renewal that comes from above. It's like drinking cold water on a scorching day. Your spirit knows it needs this. And it's in this silence full of presence that you begin to notice something extraordinary. The king doesn't just control the sea from afar. He walks on it. He comes to you in the middle of the storm. Because look, God's greatness isn't just in governing the universe with all its incomprehensible vastness. His greatness is also in bending down to the afflicted heart. He is the king who sustains galaxies and, at the same time, wipes away the tears of a mother who cries alone after everyone's already asleep. How many times have you done this? Sat on the edge of the bed, late at night, or early in the morning, without words, just with a heart too heavy to form sentences. It's exactly there that the Lord reveals himself, not as a distant sovereign sitting on an inaccessible throne in heaven, but as a present Father who wraps your soul in tenderness. His throne, it's surrounded by grace, and his sovereignty is the safe shelter of souls who trust, even when they don't understand anything about what's happening. And you know how God's love manifests. Often in the small things you almost don't notice. Sometimes comfort comes in the form of a gentle breeze in the morning when you open the window, of a verse that jumps out at you exactly when you needed those words most, of a sweet memory from when your faith was simple, when you were a child and believed without questioning. God speaks in the middle of the noise of your life, and his whisper is gentle, but it transforms absolutely everything. God's love sustains me. Say this with me. God's love sustains me. This truth, repeated silently in your heart, is powerful medicine against the despair trying to swallow you. It reminds you that you're not alone, even when your soul feels like an arid desert, even when your body is so exhausted you can barely think straight. And if you're feeling the weight of routine, if spiritual weariness is too real today, let me tell you a secret. Return to God's presence with radical simplicity. You don't need eloquent words. You don't need long, well-formed prayers. Just raw, true sincerity. It can be a moment of quiet in the morning, before everyone wakes up. It can be a gentle song while you wash the dishes. It can be a 3-word prayer between folding one towel and another. Your soul doesn't need elaborate rituals to be renewed. It just needs to remember who's on the throne. And it's in this instant of unreserved surrender that you begin to realize something that changes everything. The same God who comforts you is also the one who controls all things, including those that seem to have completely escaped from your hands. We live in strange days, don't we? Days when it feels like everything is unstable. You look around and the values that were once non-negotiable are now questioned. Truths that were obvious are distorted. Even the foundations that seemed solid begin to crack and crumble. But while human thrones collapse, God's throne remains absolutely unshakable. This is more than cheap comfort. It's a powerful reminder that God's word doesn't shake, even when the world around you is falling apart. You need to know this today. Even if the ground literally gives way beneath your feet, there's a king who reigns with perfect justice and who governs over all things. He's the one who gives direction when you're lost, strength when you're weak, hope when your heart is too afflicted to see light anywhere. And you know what happens many times? God allows earthly thrones to fall so we turn our gaze to the true throne. Sometimes what collapses isn't a distant empire or a corrupt government. It's something inside you. A plan you were sure was from God, but it got frustrated. A friendship you thought would last forever, but it broke. A dream that was interrupted midway. And you're left there, in the middle of the rubble, trying to understand what happened. But it's exactly in that emptiness that God plants spiritual renewal. He takes the wreckage of what collapsed and begins to raise something much more solid. A mature faith, tested, forged in the fire of genuine trust. It's as if he said, "Daughter, don't be afraid. I still govern exactly what you think you've lost forever." There's a kind of freedom you only find when you finally understand that control is an illusion. When you learn to rest in God, even without understanding the whys, even when nothing makes sense, a peace is born that the world simply cannot give, no matter what it tries to offer you. In these moments, it's good to return to the ancient promises. Open your Bible to Isaiah 26:3 and read this aloud. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you. Perfect peace. Not a superficial peace that depends on circumstances, but a deep, unshakable peace that comes from having your mind fixed on Him. This is the foundation of a real devotional life. It's not about religious rituals. It's about remembering, day after day, that the stability of your life is in the God who doesn't change. Never. Not one bit. And it's precisely this growing trust that prepares your heart to see something glorious. There's a kingdom coming, eternal, glorious, where justice will never again be shaken. Because, friend, there's a day marked on God's calendar. A day when every tear you've ever cried will be wiped away. Every pain you've ever felt will finally make sense. This is the destiny of all who trust in the eternal King, the one who reigns today and will reign forever. While here the battles tire you and routine weighs like lead on your shoulders, your heart is strengthened when you remember that there's a throne that will never be shaken, a hope that will never fade, no matter how many winds blow against it. Every prayer you make, every verse you read, every moment you choose to trust even when it's hard, is a rehearsal for eternity. It's a step toward the kingdom where your faith will finally become sight, where you'll see face to face the one you trusted even without seeing. And while heaven still seems distant, while you're still here fighting your daily battles, God calls you to live as a citizen of that kingdom here on earth, now, today. Being a mom who prays when it's easier to give up. Being a woman of faith when everyone around is desperate. Being a bearer of hope in the middle of absolute chaos. This is a powerful way to announce that God's love sustains you, even on the greyest days. He's preparing a place where there will be no more painful goodbyes, no paralyzing fear, no crushing guilt, only peace, full joy, true rest. This certainty gives you courage to get up tomorrow morning, to take care of the house one more time, to love your family even when it's difficult, to keep praying even when your soul asks for rest. It's faith to start over, day after day after day. And when the spiritual night seems too long, when you feel you can't wait anymore, remember this: the King still reigns and He's coming to meet us. Every pain you feel is a reminder that the definitive kingdom is approaching. Every dawn is a new invitation to perseverance. It's in this rhythm of active waiting and firm trust that your heart learns to find peace even on difficult days, strength even in the most draining daily struggles. Because in the end, all the whispers of heaven point to the same glorious promise. He will come, and his kingdom will triumph forever. So now that you've realized, that you've truly understood that no storm escapes the King's control, I need to ask you a question that only you can answer. Where have you been placing your trust on chaotic days? Be honest with me. Be honest with yourself. Are you still trying to row alone? Trying to control the uncontrollable? Trying to hold everything with your own tired hands? Or will you finally surrender every worry, every fear, every anxiety into the hands of the one who truly governs everything? Because true change begins when you decide to apply this truth in practice. Every challenge that comes, every tear that falls, every moment of fear that paralyzes you can become an opportunity for growth and spiritual renewal. How can you practice this today? Right now, in your routine? What prayer will you pray today? Even if it's just 3 words, to remember that God cares for you. Let me give you something practical for today. Before you go to sleep tonight, stop everything, just for 2 minutes, and say this out loud, even if quietly. The Lord reigns over my life. I trust him. And tomorrow morning, before the chaos begins, when you're brewing coffee or packing lunches, whisper again, the Lord reigns. Do this for a week, just 1 week, and see if something doesn't begin to change in your heart. If this message touched something inside you today, if you felt you needed to hear exactly this at this moment, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with that friend who's also in the middle of a storm. Send it to her now. She needs to know she's not alone. And if you want to continue this journey, if you want to learn how to live a life of real faith in the middle of real-life storms, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, because every week we'll be here, talking about how to receive these whispers from heaven that strengthen your soul, transform your home, and renew your hope. And now I want to hear from you. Leave a comment down below telling me, what storm are you facing today? And how did this message touch your heart? I'll read every comment and we'll pray together. Because in the end, that's what we are. Imperfect women serving a perfect king. Tired mothers resting in the arms of the Father who never sleeps. Beloved daughters learning to trust, day after day, that the one who began a good work in us is faithful to complete it. The Lord reigns, friend, and he reigns over you.